I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda, and you're listening to Hard NOC Life.
Well, it's the NOC in full color, you see me? The Hard NOC Life, comics, movies, and TV, yeah. Pop culture with a different perspective.
Hi, this is Hard NOC Life, and I'm Dominic, and I'm here with Sabrina Carton on behalf of Geeks for Harris and Walls. And how are you doing today?
I am doing well. Our official title is Geeks and Nerds for Harris Walls. It's a mouthful, but if you follow us on social media, we shortened it to @Geeks for Harris to make things a little
Okay.
easier.
Really nice to have you here. Please tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Thank you so much, Dominic. Well, Geeks and Nerds for Harris Walls is a group of fan communities that are coming together to support the Kamala Harris Tim Walz ticket. Geeks and Nerds for Harris Walls was founded by me and my colleague, Linda Carter, who you might remember as TV's Wonder Woman. Now, how did that happen?
How did that happen?
How did that happen? I'm a podcaster myself. I host the Fandom Made Me podcast for an organization called Fandom Forward. Used to be known as the Harry Potter Alliance. So I'm just here asking all of the questions that you were going to ask. So Fandom Forward was a rebrand of the Harry Potter Alliance that was more inclusive, more focused on contemporary examples of popular culture, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars, Star Trek, things that feel just maybe a little bit more evergreen and expansive and could reach different audiences. But so Geeks and Nerds for Harris Walls, Linda and I created it together as a way to bring fans of pop culture into the campaign and mobilize them not just to donate money to the Harris Victory Fund, but also to learn how to do canvassing, whether it's door-to-door canvassing or sending postcards to undecided voters or making phone calls or doing text banking. Or even simply helping people check their voter registration. There are a lot of different ways to engage with the campaign, and there's a lot of energy and excitement around it. I've been what's considered a fan activist for many years. Like I said, I have been working with Fandom Forward for about 12 years, and I have noticed that fans of pop culture, particularly super fans, have a lot of the same tools and skills that political organizers have or activists have, but they don't realize it because it's not set in the context of organizing. So I'll give you an example. Fans of Star Trek are really effective letter writers. If you know anything about the history of Star Trek, you'll know that the show was canceled originally in the late 60s, and then there was a group of fans that started the Save Star Trek campaign, and they wrote, I think, about 100,000 letters to the studio. And because of the fan campaign, and also because of Lucille Ball, who was a producer on the show, that's another story.
Oh, I don't know the Lucille Ball element.
Yes, Lucille
okay.
Ball.
I know something of this story, but I don't know that element.
Right. So there were two components that really saved Star Trek and made it what it was today. Number one, Lucille Ball. Number two, the power of fandom. So a fan named Bijou Trimble and her husband started this campaign, and they got hundreds of thousands of fans to write letters. And so fans of Star Trek are really effective letter writers. And I saw that and I said, well, we need letter writers on the campaign. So why don't we get an organization like Vote Forward that focuses on letter writing to undecided voters or to registered Democrats? How do we get those people connected with the Star Trek fan letter writers? And that's going to be one of the segments on the Geeks and Nerds for Harris Walls call on September 24th, which will be at 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, and I've heard tell about this event quite a bit already, so the word is getting out there. Can you talk a little bit about what's planned for this event?
Yes. Ooh, well, we have a lot of surprises in store. Anything can happen. We have confirmed, I can't tell you too much about the program because I want you to be surprised, but I will say
Oh, sure.
I mean, I can tell you that it'll
We
be a
nerds do
mix
love
of
surprises of content,
nerds love
certain way.
surprises. Nerds don't want too many spoilers. We have to have
Hmm.
some
Hmm.
surprises. But what I can tell you is that it's a very thoughtful 3-hour telethon program where we bring together some of the greatest icons of the geek world, some activists, some other celebrities, and creators, artists, and politicians who are geeks and nerds who identify as fans of these different stories like Lord of the Rings and Star Trek and Star Wars, and Supernatural in particular is a really fun one. So
Oh,
so
sure.
if you look at our social media, you'll see that we've confirmed Mark Hamill and John Cryer and Misha Collins and cast members from Supernatural and all of these amazing people to come together. You know, I can't even list all of them. There, it's such an
Yeah.
epic list, but it's a program that brings together all of these people, not just to raise money for the Kamala Harris campaign, because I know that that's something that these calls are focused on. Like part of it is fundraising, but the other part that I think is even more important is it's sort of doing a crash course for different fandoms on how they could use their culture, their heritage, and their skill
Hmm.
sets to help elect Kamala Harris and Democrats down ballot, which is also very important.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask was, I mean, if we can back up just for a second, like it strikes me that a lot of the activism around the Kamala Harris campaign, it had to happen kind of quickly, right? Because it shifted in this unprecedented way this year, right? There was to an extent no like long-term plan for the Kamala Harris campaign, right? It is some sort of something that's emerging like in real time in this year, and I think that's a little fascinating. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. To my knowledge, there was never any long-term plan. I think I was just as surprised as anyone else. And just to clarify, I don't represent the Kamala Harris campaign in any official
Oh yeah,
capacity.
no, we're
Yeah, of
thinking out loud. We're
course.
thinking out loud. But
Yeah, I mean, I have always been a supporter of Kamala Harris. I really loved that she was President Biden's choice for vice president. And I was really excited. I mean, I just have to say, President Biden is such a great president, and that was not always acknowledged by a lot of supporters. You know, like a lot of people did not acknowledge that he's really done an effective job at lowering the cost of medication and, you know, fighting inflation and supporting reproductive rights and doing all of these things. um you know, sometimes it's all about the vibes for whatever reason. You know, like the
mhm.
policy, people don't want to talk about policy, people just want to talk about the vibes, and just it just doesn't really make any sense that people wanted him to step down. But then, you know, when he did step down, I think everyone really embraced Kamala Harris and
Yeah.
the energy and the vibes that she brought
Well,
to
yeah,
the
let's talk about
campaign.
the vibes for a little bit because Kamala Harris has quite a bit of them, and it strikes me on several levels. One thing, definitely a lot of known celebrities and artists have uh, come out, passionately and urgently with sort of re renewed, vigor. I think because she's a compelling character. It's always been this, but like the vibes of like a lot of cool nerd celebrity figures are always have been clearly on the Democratic ticket side for a while, for better or for worse, because there's a
Mhm.
stereotype there. I mean, I wonder if you could talk about that kind of thing.
I think that Vice President Harris represents, as she said, a new generation of leadership. And I think that that's something that is very exciting for a lot of Democrats and a lot of Americans in general. So, you know, President Biden and former President Trump could have just spent the rest of the campaign arguing. And it's, you know, a little
Hmm.
bit, it just feels a little bit like the vibes weren't quite there. I personally feel that President Biden was speaking to all Americans, but but if you're thinking about the vibes, I just think that Vice President Harris brings a lot of energy. You know, she's the first Gen X. I think she would be the first Gen X president, although there's been a lot of debate over whether she's technically like a late baby boomer, but culturally and spiritually in every way she's a Gen Xer. I'm considered a young millennial, so I don't even know how I could, you know, I'm 31 by the way, which is fun, but I know a lot about like 70s and 80s pop culture. Like I've aged myself with shows like I Love the 70s and I Love the 80s in the way that Laura Loomer has aged herself with white supremacy. Like there is a better way to age yourself. You know, you don't have to be hateful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go ahead.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit as far as, you know, Linda Carter is, it's fair to say, most beloved to a certain, I'd say, Gen X subset for being Wonder Woman of a certain time. That was a TV show of a certain era. And it was very important to me. It's arguably like formative in the sense it's why I do all this nerd stuff. It was happened to be on normal TV back in the day when I was growing up, and it was and the Wonder Woman show was just like a big deal. So, and, you know, an icon in the legend, in all sorts of ways, as we all know. So, if you can talk a little bit about how, you know, your association and what Linda Carter's angle is on this project.
I started working with Linda Carter about 5 years ago, right before the pandemic. And I will tell you that she is a huge geek. And people said to me, like, Linda Carter's a geek? Like, how could you say that? But she's really so geeky and nerdy. And I mean, like, she's both, right? She's incredibly curious. I think that she has an intellectual curiosity and an openness and an excitement for knowledge and to learn from different generations of Americans. And it's all very exciting. So I started working with Linda a few years ago, and I had been on the fan activism scene for a long time at that point. Linda did not know about the fan activist movement because it was such a grassroots thing that was happening outside of the studio system. But she knew what fan activism was inherently. It didn't have a name to it, but she has been seeing fan activism her entire career. She sees it when people dress up in DC Universe cosplay, like they dress up as Batman or Wonder Woman, and they visit children in the pediatric cancer unit at a hospital. She has seen it with Wonder Woman themed runs, you know, like marathons to raise money for a particular cause. She has seen Wonder Woman and different fandoms and franchises that she's a part of come together to do a civic good and public service. She has seen these stories really bind people together in a way that you don't see that as much anymore. Like, I don't know if you've ever read Bowling Alone by Robert Putnam, but that's all about how, you know, bowling leagues and church communities and different clubs and organizations, supper clubs, that used to exist in the mid 20th century. And that was the height of American civic engagement. And then everything kind of fell off around the turn of the century, like 2000. That makes us sound a million years old. But it's true. It's true. So basically what fan activism is bringing back those things that made America great. You want to make America great again, bring back those communities. And you don't have to do it the old-fashioned way. It doesn't have to be about church. It doesn't have to be about religion. It can be, you know, but if fandom is what glues you to other people and makes you a community, then that should be what you bring people together around. So fan activism is all about that. Linda Carter was incredibly supportive of the idea of fan activism. She has mentioned it in a lot of interviews over the last few years and has become a big supporter. But Geeks and Nerds for Harris Walls is probably the biggest example of fan activism that we've put together in our work together.
Yeah, great. What's What's a fandom that you have, or that Linda Carter has that we might not know about?
That's a good
That-
question. Um, that you might not know about. So, okay.
I mean, it's
So
you.
I
You've
think
said a
that
few, but go say whatever you're comfortable with.
yeah, no, it's okay. So I think Harry Potter was probably my biggest fandom when I was growing up, and it's why I decided to start volunteering for an organization that was called the Harry Potter Alliance. But I
Hmm.
think really my biggest fandom is the Gilmore Girls fandom.
Oh, right on.
Now, a lot of people don't know that it's a geeky fandom, but Gilmore Girls is a show about a very bookish teenage girl who's the daughter of a single mom who had her when she was 16 years old, and it's all about pop culture, and
Hmm.
they're really geeky about pop culture references. And so I go to Gilmore Girls camp. That's not what it's officially called, but it's
Is it like a
essentially that.
convention?
Yeah. There's a group called the Fan Fest Society that throws a, a fall camp for Gilmore Girls fans, and it's like a sleepaway situation. It's pretty brilliant, and there are a lot of cast members and crew members who join the community, and so that's really fun. But Linda in particular, I mean, she's a big Wonder Woman fan. What can I say? She's
Mhm,
also,
mhm.
I think
Why,
that,
why would she not be?
yeah, I know. I mean,
Uh,
she's
she
super
also
into,
embodies it, so I like.
she embodies it. She's into the Wonder Woman fandom. I'd say she's actually a huge science geek. Like, it's not so much a fandom as it is a community. Like she loves science education of all kinds. She's really into turtles.
Turtles? Oh, okay.
She's part
I
of a
did not
turtle
know
club. She's part
that.
of a turtle club. Ask
Right on.
if you ever meet her, ask her about her turtle club.
Cool.
She loves sea turtles and land turtles and pretty much all kind of turtles.
Cool. And she's also a musician and a singer, I believe. Not everyone. Oh,
Yeah. She's also a music geek. She's a singer-songwriter. She does a lot of, she's genreless, but I would say that she favors like jazz and the classics. You know, she's really into Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald and rock and roll, like the
okay.
classic, like Rolling Stones, you know, like rock and roll.
Totally.
Um,
This is great.
so she's
Um,
a fangirl in that way.
awesome. And she's going to be at this event at on the 24th. Or are we saying she's
Yes.
hosting it or
Yes. So
yeah,
she's
okay.
hosting, and I'm her. So Linda, it's hosted by Linda Carter with her fan activist sidekick,
Hmm,
Sabrina Carton.
okay.
So,
And sidekick
um,
is a self-assigned term
yes.
in this sense. It's a
Well,
very broad term in I'll say
well,
multi-usage term.
well, you know, it used to be that a sidekick classically would just know, you know, how to iron the satin tights, right? And then you had,
Sure.
they were like a personal assistant. I see sidekick as just this all-encompassing role of I'm there to help, you know, get the logistics done and get, you know, like she's there to be the vibes, right?
Great.
And
Okay.
to get all of the fans excited, and then I'm here with the information, like here's how you get all of this stuff done. um so yeah, in that sense I'm a sidekick.
Okay. Excellent. So we could talk a little bit more about uh what we're going for as far as the campaign. I mean, at Nerds of Color, we're a lot about the pop culture and all the movies and television shows focusing on the perspective of people of color and queer communities and but sort of going to the points of there's a lot of intersection with the sort of nerd fandom communities and also people of color and queer communities are just traditionally underrepresented anyways. There's a lot of crossover there, and we sort of live in that area. So can we talk a little bit about how you're reaching out in the sort of campaign and mobilization way?
Well, I'll tell you, first and foremost, this event was created by two nerds of color.
Hmm.
We do look a little bit Wonder Bread white if you look at our pictures, but
Fair enough.
Linda Carter is half Mexican, and I am half Indian, like
Hmm.
Kamala Harris.
Hmm.
But you couldn't tell just by looking at us, and that's the fun thing about this community, Dominic. We are really the American people. You know,
Yeah.
we are going to have representation of all kinds. We have representation from people of different racial backgrounds, different genders. It was very important to us to include a panel on disability. So we're going to have an expert on Social Security talk with a beneficiary of Social Security, Rachel Miner, who has MS and is an actor and activist, about the impact of Project 2025 on Social Security versus, what the Harris-Walz platform looks like for Social Security. So there are a lot of ways that we're incorporating diversity and including marginalized communities. I would say it's not, it doesn't feel super overt in the sense that, we're making this a Nerds of Color focus, but you'll see throughout the program that was very intentional, that we're inclusive, and these are the stories of all Americans. Sure. Like I'm proud to be a nerd of color, and I'm proud to have that be part of the focus, but it's not like how MAGA Republicans frame it, like, oh, that's all you care about, right?
Sure.
It is what we care about because it's part of the American fabric.
Sure. Yeah, and when we have these sort of culture conflicts, culture disagreements in a broad way that play out in the political arena, I find they're always lately they almost always mirror something that happens in the sort of just pop culture nerd disagreement area too. There's reflective of each other. When people are complaining about, the casting in the Star Wars movie, or the, oh no, there's a woman at the lead of this video game now where there used to be only a man. And just the way the voices sound when they're arguing about this stuff, for better for worse, very, very parallel. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course. And I think what I'm trying to say here, and hopefully trying to articulate as clearly as possible, is that we're not fighting racism by talking about how racism is bad. We're fighting racism by making healthcare more equitable, right? Mm-hmm. We're fighting sexism by ending these draconian abortion bans. We're fighting against ableism by, helping elect a president that is going to support expanding Social Security, which I find so interesting because they're just, Republicans, like MAGA Republicans in particular, are so afraid of anything that lifts all, rises the tide and lifts all boats.
Yeah, I think at some point we should try to reach out to Sean Taylor, who is also one of the founding Nerds of Color people. I don't know, did we talk about Sean Taylor already?
I spoke with Keith a little bit about Sean Taylor, and he actually knows a lot of the Harry Potter Alliance / Fandom Forward people. I know that they have been on a number of podcasts together. I don't know him personally, but I would like to.
Well, he has a lot of intersecting concepts about along these lines too, and hopefully we'll all be in this. we will all be in this one together.
Yeah, I think let your geek flag fly, right? Sure. We're telling people to geek out the vote, whatever that means for them. So I will tell you that this is not beginning and ending with September 24th. We hope you can make it to our live stream on YouTube, but even if you can't, or even if you have to watch it later, we just ask that you join the conversation and stay in touch and keep an eye out for all of the things that we'll be sending out after the call, because we're trying to get out to Comic-Con across the country. I know New York Comic-Con is coming up, and I live in Brooklyn, so I'm trying to make it out to, I'm trying to make it out to New York Comic-Con to get out the vote and maybe do a Geeks and Nerds for Harris-Walz meetup. And there are so many different things coming up. So there will be caravans to bring people to battleground states that are near them, so that they can go door to door together and make it a community event, make some friends. I'm just thinking about really geeky, like fan-centric ways to do that. So Lord of the Rings is all about this long journey. So like, why not put together a fellowship of geeks and go on that journey together? It's more fun and I think less intimidating than doing it by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And there might be costumes involved.
Yeah, and there might be costumes. Could you imagine showing up as Gandalf at someone's house and just being like, "Hello, I'm supporting Kamala Harris." You might want to. You might want to
assess the neighborhood, but yeah.
You might want to think about the space and the context that you're doing that in. But certainly, I would love to see canvassing in Comic-Con, adjacent spaces. So yeah, I guess what I would say is keep an eye out for more opportunities to engage with the campaign through Fandom after September 24th. Definitely tune in and RSVP if you can. It's geeksandnerdsforharris.eventbrite.com. You can also register through our website, which is geeks.forharris.org. And you can tag us. We're collecting people's stories and telling the stories of fandom at Geeks for Harris on Twitter or X, and Instagram and Threads. So we want people to share photos of their geekiest selves, like maybe in cosplay or playing D&D, or just like memories of engaging with fandom, and then sharing, this is why I'm supporting Kamala Harris. Maybe you're volunteering with a particular group, whatever it is that you're doing, we want to see those actions come to life, and we want to connect more people to your group. So definitely this is what we're using that space for.
Okay, great. And is that the main place you're asking people to go if they can't make the call to engage on the social media place? Or
yeah, social media, I would say, and then geeks.forharris.org, because we will have, it's not, as of Monday, September 16th, it's not launched yet, but we will very soon have a new website with a very geeky to-do list. And like a video game, it's actually set up from easy mode to difficult, like the hardest mode, right? So we have a list of steps that you can take. You can start with, I think the first one is signing our open letter from the science and tech community in support of Kamala Harris and all that she represents for, innovation in this country. So I know like Bill Nye the Science Guy is on that letter, and a number of prominent scientists and inventors and technologists are on that letter. So that's a really easy thing that takes like 2 minutes to do. And then it goes all the way down to like, getting in a caravan and doing the whole door-to-door travel, which might take, a full Saturday or a few hours of your time. So we have different levels of engagement depending on how much time you have and how much you're willing to commit. But there's something for everybody to do. And that's really what's important. If everybody did, one thing to help this campaign, we would win.
Yeah.
By the way, where are you based?
I'm in Berkeley, California, right next to East Bay area.
Very nice. So we need to get you out to Nevada to get out the vote, get out to the swing states. Yeah.
Critical area. Okay. So it was great to talk with you, Sabrina. And is there any thing in closing you'd like to say as we look towards September 24th?
I just want to say that fans have the power. So we all need to rise up and geek out the vote. And I hope that you'll join us at Geeks and Nerds for Harris Walls on September 24th.
Great. And sometimes we asked if there's a way you'd like to be personally contacted on the internets or not.
You can at me. You can reach me on Twitter at Sabrina Carton, Cartan.
Okay.
And Instagram as well, but I'm on Twitter a little bit more.
Sure. Okay, right on. And I'm Dominic, Dama, Dommah, on most of the social places. And anyway, so this has been Hard NOC Life on behalf of the Nerds of Color. Please find the Nerds of Color on our YouTube channel and Instagram and most of the important social media areas. So, I mean, this is really exciting. We have a lot to talk about with this intersection of nerds and the presidential campaign. But so I hope we get to delve deeper into some of these topics at some soon date.
Right on. I will definitely be back with
Yeah.
even more to share.
All
So
right.
thank you so much, Dominic. I appreciate it.
Yes, and until the next time I see you, good luck with everything. You'll need some.
All right. Live long and prosper.
Pop culture with a different perspective. Watch it on your screen, hit play, so check this. This is the hard knock life, but not the chicken kind. More like the people.